Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Love and Light Show, where your special guest is Melissa Smith, and I'm so excited to talk about ultimate health today, and it starts with our gut. So if you've been having any energy issues, any gut health issues, this episode is definitely for you. I'm so excited to talk about how it's our responsibility to start with our nutrition to really take care of ourselves and make sure that we're in a really good place in our life, to make sure that we can have that ultimate vital health that we're all desiring and having that amazing energy in our lives. We're also going to do a really awesome exercise towards the end, so you definitely want to stick around for that to help us identify if we have any gut issues going on for ourselves right now, and make sure that we're kind of getting better from that place, because kind of half the solution is sometimes knowing what the problem is. So you guys might not know that you might be having some gut issues. I know that I was guilty about that for a while. I wasn't really understanding all the importance around gut health. So I'm so excited for Melissa to talk about it. She's all about gut health, so I'm so excited to introduce her to you guys today. And this is the Love and Light Show, if you're unfamiliar with it. So we get together every Monday with awesome light workers and spiritual badasses and entrepreneurs and people who are here to make the world a better place, to introduce you to their messages, so that you guys can have more support on your healing journey, and so that we can all just be the change we want to see in the world by starting with ourselves and doing that for ourselves. And then we can share it with other people as well. So we can be that change for our family and our community and make the whole world a better place by showing up and starting with ourselves, by taking care of ourselves. And definitely say hi as you pop on live. We're on the Be Live platform, so we don't see you until you say hi to us. So definitely encourage you to engage. And hi, how are you doing? Hope you're having an awesome day. And even if you're catching the replay, definitely continue to say hi with us, ask any questions, comment along, and we'll be sure to engage with you afterwards as well a little bit. So I'm Laura McPhee. If you're unfamiliar with me, I'm a happiness coach and healer. And now I keep saying transitioning to joyful goddess, because it's getting clearer and clearer what that's going to be, but I still haven't fully let the happiness coach and healer go yet, because I'm still in that transition phase. So I love empowering women through self-love and care, so that we can all be that change for ourselves, so we can be that leader that we want to be and lead by example in the world. So that's going off in so many different directions, and I'm super excited to continue to dive into that. My old line was, I help people pleasers, perfectionists, and workaholics let go of all their stress, worry, overwhelm, all the stuff that's just been weighing us down and holding us back, so we can move forward to our dream happy lives. So I'm still going to be doing that work, just on deeper levels, with deeper forgiveness work, more self-acceptance, and unconditional love work, forgiveness work, all kinds of stuff around that. So if that ever resonates with you, feel free to reach out to me. And I'm so excited for Melissa to be joining us today. How's your day going, Melissa?
It's great. Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited too. We planned this a while ago, so I'm so excited to talk again. Awesome. So can you tell everyone a little bit about your background? You're a holistic health coach and you're all about gut health. So can you tell people how you kind of got on this road?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey began when I was about 19. I started suffering with digestive issues, and this went on throughout my corporate career, and got diagnosed with IBS and anxiety, and the two go hand in hand together. But just climbing the corporate ladder, my symptoms kept getting worse and worse and worse, and it wasn't ultimately until I ended up in the ER sick that I knew that I had to make a change. And while, I was working in the medical device healthcare industry, I thought I was being healthy. I have a bachelor's degree in health education and exercise science. I have a master's in cardiac rehab. I thought I was being healthy and living healthy, but I wasn't. I really, really, really wasn't, because I was caught on the rat race, if you will, the treadmill of go, 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 live this, instant gratification, constantly planning the next day kind of a life, that I wasn't paying attention to my own body and what was really happening.
And I can so totally resonate with that. Guilty.
Yeah.
So how do you encourage people to start with nutrition so that they can really respect themselves and their body and get into that love with themselves?
Yeah, well, it's really paying attention to how you feel after you eat something.
Yes.
Pay attention to how your body is reacting to whatever it is that you're putting in your body, because we are, like I said, in such an instant gratification society that we're going to reach for the quick fix which is the processed, prepackaged, drive-through kind of food. And then we wonder why we feel like crap later on after we eat it. And we're not making that correlation. And we're not making the correlation between how our gut feels and then also how it's affecting our cognitive functioning, how it's affecting our brain. And then how is it affecting the rest of our body? We're not correlating and putting this all together.
And I think that it's funny too, because when I was growing up, people were always saying like, oh, you don't want to turn into a chicken finger, or you don't want to turn into a piece of pizza, because that's what I'd eat at the cafeteria every day. But I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm not actually going to turn into pizza. So it completely just left my mind. I didn't until I was like 20, basically, make the actual connection being like, it's not this some random like bad luck lottery of cancer. You create acidity in your body when you eat junk. And if you do healthy things, then you create an alkaline body, and cancer can't live in an alkaline body. So eat more salad and like do healthy things and change my life and like do it in that empowering way, instead of being like, oh, it's just like bad luck and my carnation drinks are super healthy. I'm doing so good putting that chocolate weird powder stuff in my milk. That's so healthy, instead of like buying a Vitamix and doing smoothies every day like I do now.
Totally. Oh my God. I remember the carnation drinks and those commercials that, exactly.
I thought I was being so healthy. Yeah. Like I would take a Boost into work every morning and people would actually think I was the healthy one because I was drinking a Boost instead of coffee. And I'm like, looking back on that, I'm mortified that I was like touting that, because I'm like, oh, look, there's nutrition on my label. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. But at that time, and that is consistent with what's happening now. It's actually worse. But that's what the information that we were getting fed, is that this is healthy for you. And it's continuing to get worse because we're not going back to our roots of, what did our people, and I mean everybody's people, eat?
Our grandparents.
Yes. Like they ate fruits and vegetables straight from the earth, or grass-fed beef, chicken and eggs that they raised on the farm, the ranch, whatever, right there. And they were the freshest, most nutritious at that point. And we totally have gotten away from that. And it's really, it's a generational thing. It's a societal pressure. It's our manufacturing practices. It's our farming practices have gotten us completely away from that. I mean, I know there's kids out there that don't even know where fruits and vegetables come from. Like there really is. And that's very, very sad to say. But it's when you get into the inner cities or, places where that's not accessible, they have no idea what it is or where it comes from.
And I remember seeing documentaries with stuff like that. Like I'm from a smaller town originally. Sussex is like a little farm community. It's like the dairy town. So I'd see some stuff and like I'd see cornfields and stuff like that, but still like I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't want to eat the vegetables on my plate, even though I kind of understood that they came from the ground. That made me feel like they were gross and dirty. Like it's so weird, all the perceptions that are like given to us nowadays versus, again, like 100 years ago, you just like do the farm work, like you're involved in the process and like you get your hands dirty. And that's also really good for your body, instead of being like, we're all in bubbles. Like I totally was like anti-dirt my whole life. And I'm like, that probably affected my immunity for a while.
Definitely. Absolutely. We are just living in this fast-paced society where I want the instant gratification. Give it to me now. I don't want to wait. And then we wonder why we feel like crap. We're angry, we're bitter, we're depressed, and why there's so much violence going on, whether it's domestic violence right in your own backyard or your own neighborhood, or, when we go out into the world and we look at shootings and terrorism and everything that's happening. Well, it has to start from somewhere. Like you didn't just magically get angry and bitter all of a sudden. Like it's been festering for a long time. And we really need to take a look at what we're putting in our bodies, what's causing our physical ailments and our mental health, because it's all connected, and we're not correlating that.
I love that. So how do you correlate that to your people? How do you make sure that they understand so that they do shift from that angry, depressed state to making better changes?
Yeah, well, really my program is focused on nutrition first. Let's see what's going on. Let's understand what your symptoms are first. And then we can make a plan to, what fruits and vegetables need to go into your diet. Well, first, what needs to go out of your diet?
Yes.
So that's the first
out.
a detox. And, people are surprised when I say, okay, these are the things that we're cutting out of your diet right now. And they get a little bit shocked, and, there's a little bit of a panic, and then there's some fear that sets in because those are their crutches.
Yep.
And they've held on to them. So there's an emotional connection to that food. And I like to start slow and take them away slowly. And then we add things in. And then the correlation starts, oh, my body's feeling better. Yeah. My thinking is better. And then we work on mindset and mindfulness. And once you understand the process and the questions that are coming up in your mind and how you're reacting to certain situations, then you start to correlate the two together and realize, oh, what I'm eating truly is affecting how I'm functioning of the entirety of my body, but also how I'm functioning with my children and with my partner and with my job and with the community at large.
Yeah.
We start to recognize that. But until you get to that point, which is where I struggle with, because I don't want people to end up in the situation that I was, suffering for as long as I was. And you end up in the ER sick because you have no options. You ran out of options.
Yeah.
Or so you think you ran out of options because you didn't, because of the fear of actually digging into yourself and getting vulnerable and getting down to the root cause. Because there's more than just, I have digestive issues. My brain isn't functioning. I'm irritable. I have a little bit of OCD tendencies. There is an emotional connection going on, and we have to dive deeper into that. And this is where addictions come in. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's food obsession or not eating, or it's alcoholism, just that 1-2 glasses of wine every night. That's an addiction. Yeah. And we see this over and over again with women, thinking that that's okay, just to wind down a little bit because I've been taking care of the kids all day or I've been at work, kind of a thing. It's not. It's not. And, we can go into sex, pornography, gambling. I mean, the list of addictions goes on, drugs, the list can go on and on and on. So we're dumbing it down because really at the bottom line is that it's all about self-love and self-care and self-respect. And we are not seeing that because we're caught up in what society tells us that we need to be. And we assume that the way we feel is normal and that's the way everyone else feels. And we don't recognize that.
Especially when everyone else around us is carrying out that lifestyle. Like I gained those bad habits from my family. And then I was surrounded by other people who had those same bad habits. Like it seems so normal. Like I always say when I was in the corporate world, we were always being like, how are you? Busy, but good. And it's like we surround ourselves with those people. And when you start shifting and changing, you see that there's way better ways. And it's just like incredible the amount of misery that you were putting yourself in before without realizing it. And it's like, I totally get the same thing with you. It's like more and more people are waking up in different ways so they're not hitting that rock bottom place. But like I hit my breaking point in the corporate world where I was like, I can't do this. So like everyone needs to like find their own place where they get to that. But like the more we can just kind of wake people up to that correlation and like learn from other people's mistakes so you don't have to get there, so you can start taking care of yourself first now, or you can start being like, yeah, my mom burnt out. I'm doing the same things as her. She had breast cancer. She did this. What correlation am I doing that's the exact same as them so that I don't get to that place? Like those awarenesses are so important.
Absolutely. And you bring up a great point, Laura, when you were talking about, we're standing around the water cooler and everybody was like, how was your weekend? Because it's Monday. So the Monday chat about how was your weekend? And, oh, it was great. And we say that because we don't want to get vulnerable and honest that, hey, maybe I had a crappy weekend. And I didn't, mentally, it was really hard for me, for whatever reason. But we don't want to say that, one, because we know that if we say that, it's going to make them uncomfortable. And then we start into the whole guilt, shame, blame game going on. And it just permeates. because we don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable and put them into that situation, because then it starts to permeate in everything that we do. And so then we start to close down.
Yep.
And we stop really speaking our voice and being our authentic self. And this happened for me. This happened exactly for me, where I was like, yeah, everything's fine. Everything's great. You know, I'm coming on the corporate ladder. It's wonderful. I'm making great money. But at the same time, I was dying inside, because I was so much anxiety and depression going on that I didn't know how to get out of it. Because I thought that I was doing everything that I should be doing for everyone else. And I call this the E personality. Everything for everyone else at the expense of yourself. And that's really what it is. And we're just there's so much fear around being your true self and the shame around it, that's what's holding us back. And that's why a lot of people are just like, I'm just going to, everything's fine. My digestive issue, I just have a stomach ache, and we just stuff it down. And it's until something truly life-threatening happens that we will decide that we need to make a change. And even then, sometimes people don't recognize that they need to do this. They will just continue doing what they always did because they can't. They don't want to. And I think for both you and I, for what we do, it's people need to understand that they're not alone.
Yes.
And there's other people out there that get it and understand where they're coming from and what they're going through. And I'm sure you're the same way. I mean, I've heard some really awful, awful things that have happened to people. And they hold on to this so tightly because they don't want to let it out. And that causes all this constriction in your body. So when we talk about I'm constipated and I'm bloated, well, yes, you're physically constipated, you're mentally constipated, but you're also emotionally constipated. And what is that about? What are you constricting in your life?
Yes. There's so much normalized suffering where we're just like, we are all told to shut up and put up with it and just move on with our life. And I totally get it, where like people, like I suppressed for a long time being molested, and I had so much shame around that. And like for the longest time wouldn't talk about anything. So like the more I share my stories with people, and I'm just super honest and open and vulnerable. Like I love all of Brene Brown's work. She's incredible. If you guys have stuff around like there's something wrong with me, or like this happened and like I'm bad or something like that, check out Brene Brown's books. Like she's incredible. But like it's so important for everyone to share their stories. And I love that you're making more posts about like sexual stuff and like periods and like diva cups and like stuff like that on Facebook, because people like have these thoughts, they have these questions. And then the more women who step up and are like, I'm taking my voice back, I have a platform here, other people can get benefit from hearing my story. So of course I'm going to get a little bit uncomfortable going outside my comfort zone to share with the people who need it. Like I'm super grateful for everyone who came before me, who shared the things that inspired me. So it's like kind of like a responsibility for me to share my things now, because I've learned so much and it can help someone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like, those people are just a couple steps ahead of us, and they've opened the door, and you were so right on the money, where it's like, shove it down. And I was doing that to myself. And it's like, we have to as women stop doing that.
Yes.
And I will be the first to admit, it's been very interesting for me to really open up and push myself out there. But I feel like this truly is what I am supposed to be doing. And, you're always going to have people that are going to lash back at you, and you have to keep going no matter what. And I know that I know who I am, and I love myself enough to know that there is nothing anyone can say to me that's going to change my mind about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's the point where all women need to be. We need to get all women into that spot, and to know that it's safe and it's okay. And there's people, here to support you. And whether it's us, it's on the online platform, because social media can be an amazing place to interact and meet other people. I mean, that's how we met.
Yes.
But just knowing that and having access to that makes you not feel so alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
so many communities, like, and when you start looking for this, like when the student's ready to teach your peers, and I love that because it happens so often, and then you're in like a different vibrations, then you have all these new amazing friends and people around who are going through the same things or who have gone through the same things. And like, it's just so much more loving and open to find those communities. And I feel like some people who are starting to be more awake and starting to like question things and want to like go against what they have learned, like the status quo that's made them sick, they're like, well, no one else is doing it. But it's like, you don't even understand. Like, we all have blinders on until like you start moving forward. You can start getting more space and see all the amazing people out there, like even in our own communities. Like there was people that when I started talking about other stuff, people who are around here like became like a spiritual community all of a sudden here. And I was like, oh, I'm in a small place, blah, 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 like all these negative stories. But when you move forward, all the other pieces rush in. Like the universe totally has our back and is like, here you go. Like everything that you need is right here before you. You just have to start walking on that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the tricky part, is like really diving into the fear and trusting that the universe is going to be there for you. And, you know, we all go through phases where, you know, you're like, is this going to happen? Is this real? Can I make this work? And you have those moments of, yes, this is amazing. And then something happens and then you start to question it. It's like, you have to stay steadfast in the faith that the universe is going to bring you everything that you need.
Yes. And it's not like some linear path where like someone's mapped it all out perfectly. Like I'm all about mentors and teachers and support systems. And I'm all about having as many people on my team as I can always. But like, it's not like, oh, life just gets better. It's like ups and downs, but like over time, it's continuously steady going up. It's just like, there's good days and bad, like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 10 steps forward, 4 steps back. Like it's a dance with figuring out what works for your body, especially with your own gut health. Like I last year discovered like there was something really not okay with my digestive system. And I'm like, I didn't understand. And, you know, like after doing all the like work and research and stuff, I'm like, oh, I was on antibiotics twice in 1 month because they got me wrongly diagnosed the first time. And then it happened again. So 3 rounds of antibiotics within a year. And I never had anything before. So like they told me right after to do like some probiotics, but not like to continuously do it, to like make sure that I was adding other stuff back into my diet that would support my body even more. And like, it's so interesting. Like that was like a big eye opener to be like, this is more a sick care system. Like here's this bad thing, here's a quick pill, get out. Like there's the next person who has like their arm cut off. Like we just need to push people through this. And like I'm in Canada and I'm like, this is sick care. Like it's not like the nurse was telling me any dietary things I could do. I told her that I was drinking smoothies every day and doing all these things. And she's like, oh, what's the benefit of that smoothie? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so it's our responsibility. Like it's our bodies and it's our responsibility to figure out what works for us. So I love empowering people and for them to not feel like they're a victim, but like there's so many resources. Like there's us who are like super passionate about things. And there's so many people who have gone through the same thing that we have, who have similar stories. And like there's people in local communities who can help people with this. There's just unbelievable resources out there when we start to like take control for ourselves and be like, so how can I start fixing this? And you'll find all those magical pieces. And sometimes it's like, oh, this one didn't work for me like I thought, or like they said that it would, or like their body does. Like, but it's really, really interesting. And having that mindset of it's exciting to discover my body, to find out what works for my body, that like even just something as simple as drinking a lot of water a day, I feel way more energized. So like it's those different pieces that can help people out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the peaks are great, but it's the valleys where you actually learn and you grow, and the challenging points. And one of the things, people are afraid to understand how their body actually works on so many different levels, not just from the digestive part of it, but your cognitive functioning. And then, you know, we can dive deeper into the sexual understanding as well, because it's all correlated. It all works together. And, but it's in that valley. I like to say I'm a valley girl.
Nice.
Because I've been there many, many times, and I will always, you know, it's inevitable. You're going to have peaks and valleys and plateaus that are going to happen. And you're going to have those stale points where you're not growing, and you're either it's in a good spot or it's in a not so good spot. And then you hit a valley. But it's really digging into what's going on, listening to yourself, listening to the thoughts that you're saying to yourself.
Yes.
Because there's always that chatter in there, and paying attention to your body. And that, I feel like, is people are afraid of what's going on, and recognizing that is the first step. Yeah. And then it's like, I talked, was it last week or about anatomically understanding your body, especially from a female reproductive, you know, sexual expression, and understanding that. And we're so afraid of that. And I even got a comment about someone who's like, well, everyone in America should know that unless you live in a third world country. And no, that's not. It's not even, it's not taught until, and it's not even taught in college, because I was a teaching assistant in college and I taught this section, and they just said, here's the book. This is what we want you to teach. And it didn't talk anything about, you know, specific anatomical correlations or anything in there. They're just like, follow the guidelines in the book and teach from the book. And I was like, I can't do that. That doesn't make sense to me. And that was 20 years ago. So think about what the information that we're putting out there now. Of course, there are people all over the United States and all over the world who do not understand that, don't understand how their bodies function. Yep. And we have to be willing to get vulnerable and understand what's going on, or you can't fix the problem.
Exactly. And to not be afraid to be like, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Like, Google is also your friend. So if you're at the point where you're like, I don't even want to talk to anyone, like, Google things, YouTube stuff. Like, I learned so much stuff online before my comfort zone reached, like, oh, I'm going to reach out to this coach or this mentor or this person or do this program with them or some mastermind or like all these other resources. Like, it started with like books and audibles and YouTubing the crap out of everything that I could, and like just figuring out what pieces I could get by myself, because that felt safe to me. And there's so many different stages that people can be at. And that's a totally normal stage to just be like curious and be like, okay, so I keep hearing this thing about gut health. I keep hearing this thing about all this GMOs, or like start researching. Like, that internal guidance system that you have that's like nudging you, like those little signs that you're getting where you're like, I've heard about gut health like 3 times this week. Like, trust the universe when you're getting signs like that. When your like gut is talking to you, when you're really getting those signs, like move towards it, because like your body's telling you things that are very important, and like you're completely being supported by the universe. I love that the universe like always has everything around you. You just have to like be open to seeing it and receiving that love and that support, and it's totally there for you always.
Yeah, and that is exactly true. The biggest thing though is people are not open to it, because we're just like in this zoom straight ahead, and we're not paying attention to it. And like, oh, this happened, and they just kind of brush it off. And then, oh, it popped up again, and they just kind of brush it off. And it's like,
it's like that Mack truck where it's like, this is your sign.
Yes. And sometimes we need that before we realize this is what we need to do.
Yeah. But like, I love the saying, like, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So like, now that I've hit that breaking point and have corrected and continuously to self-correct and do better things and keep working on being the best version of myself, like, it's so much easier now. Like, when people say, oh, that's expensive, or like I did that Tony Robbins like Life and Wealth Mastery where I completely detoxed my body, learned all these new things, and then slowly got back onto raw food again. And it was incredible. And people are like, oh, that's so expensive. I'm like, it's a lot less expensive than being sick my entire life, than getting cancer, than dying early and like not fully getting to like raise my kids someday or like even meet my grandkids. I'm like, that seems way more costly to me. It's an investment in my health that I get to enjoy for the rest of my life. More energy and vitality and just passion and lightness and freedom and openness. I'm like, I get to do whatever I want. Like, I'm super grateful for my body and everything that it does. So why wouldn't I invest in myself? Like, especially with like other things and like the markets and all of these things being kind of risky, like people just mindlessly throwing their money at stuff. And it's like, well, that expensive $100 dinner was expensive. Why didn't you put that towards like a naturopath visit or getting like a supplement or kombucha or like something that would have benefited your body? Like, it's shifting our mindset on what we're prioritizing, I feel, is a big thing, because I prioritize my body and my health and being the best version of myself. So that's where I put my money. So it's like that correlation of mindset around worth. And we're not usually taught from a young age. Anything I can do here? Or they just go along with the diagnosis and they're like, oh, I'm just screwed for forever, and get in that like victim mentality.
Yeah, totally. I love the word use and abuse. It's truly something that I saw over and over again when I worked in the medical device industry. So I was a physician trainer for products that were in clinical trials. And I primarily was in cardiovascular because that is my entire background. But people would come in with every comorbidity in the book. So diabetes, overweight, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. They have an ulcerated, an ulcer on their foot for a non-healing wound. They won't take care of it. They haven't come into the doctor for months and months and months. And by the time they come into the doctor and they're undressing the wound, well, what do you think? It's like, it smells horrible. It's gangrene. It's actually black.
Oh my gosh.
So this is the ultimate on the far end here.
Yeah.
Of what happens when we don't take care of our bodies. And sadly, we had to amputate part of that person's foot. And not to get into statistics and all of that, but the chances after you have one amputation of you having another amputation are like doubled, and it just keeps going from there. And then the chance of your survival rate 5 years out diminishes greatly. Right. So we're on that end here. Why are we not talking about the preventative?
Yes.
And how we can take care of our bodies. And going back to you talking about the nurse, this is part of the problem, is our healthcare. Our doctors and nurses are not trained in nutrition and how it can truly heal the body. Granted, it's a little bit more mainstream coming, I say, functional medicine. There are DO practices, DO training programs are more holistic. Most of them are more holistic, but most people will want to go to an MD rather than a DO. Okay.
So what's the DO stand for?
Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. But it's the same. It's the same licensing. They can do the same thing. So, but it's still, this is the part where we need to be an active participant in our healthcare and not do everything, because you're better than anyone else. And they're not answering your question, feel comfortable with whatever diagnosis, whatever the plan of action is, and you have every right to get an opinion, every right to get their opinion, right to go to a naturopathic, Chinese medicine experts, everything else, but it's in your control.
Yes.
You don't just have to assume that what they say is the right thing to do when you're sitting there going, okay, my gut is telling me this isn't the right thing to do. He's got the white coat and the license, the letters after his name.
Right.
Think for your and information. There's a part of it out there, and great for some things. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. Somebody ask your Just ask other people, talk about it.
Find the resource that's right for you.
Right. Absolutely.
Awesome. So how can people identify what's wrong with their gut? I'd love for you to kind of walk them through those questions so that they can see maybe, oh, there might be something off balance for me here, something that I need to like get back into alignment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing is always bloating, gas, and constipation. Those are the primary things. And then after that, which they all kind of follow in a row, is, cramping, nausea, diarrhea, and then you cycle through it. So those are the physical symptoms. Now, the mental symptoms are you irritable? Do you have anxiety? Are you anxious and snapping at people? Are you having a tendency to really pull yourself out of conversations and not use your voice as well? And, extract yourself from social situations too. Can be because you have anxiety. You're afraid. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have an IBS episode. Where's the bathroom? What's going on? It's understanding that. And it could be you could just have brain fog and you're like, I just don't feel good. Something just doesn't feel right. I just feel a little fatigued and exhausted. And my stomach hurts a little bit, but I just can't figure out what the problem is. And I always say, one of my biggest markers is if you're having some of these symptoms, all of them, how many bowel movements are you having in a day? Are you having at least one? Because if you're not, and it's every 2 or 3 days, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
And most people are like, oh my God, I don't want to talk about poop. I'm like, well, everybody does it. If you're not doing it, it's a problem.
Yes. Or if you're doing it all the time,
that's a problem
that's also
too.
A problem. It's the harmony of what's right for you.
Yeah. And that goes back to, let's talk about our bodies and what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? We're women. We menstruate, we poop, we pee, we do all of these things. So let's talk about it.
Yes.
Let's get real
and know the healthy indicators.
Yes.
It's like your pee needs to be clear.
If it's like orange, you're probably majorly dehydrated.
Yeah.
So
get a big water bottle.
Yes.
Drink like 2 or 3 a day.
Yes, absolutely.
And that was a big thing. Again, at Life Mastery, everyone was like going through the same thing. So like we were all talking about like colonics and stuff like that. And like the more I talk to people now that I'm home around it, they're like, oh, okay, like it's not the same as just necessarily like all of a sudden eating a salad. Like that's not going to do the same thing if you've been eating terrible unprocessed foods your entire life. There's a very good chance there's like built up fecal matter in your colon that might not be allowing you to digest everything perfectly and absorb all the nutrients that you might be getting from that salad that you're starting to eat one time or every couple times a week now. Like there's things that you've done over time that our bodies haven't been able to process. And like there's so many things you can look into, like fasting and like a bunch of stuff that will like work for some people and work for others. People will feel different on different things. Like it's that research of what will work for you and what you feel good about doing so that you can get more in tune with that like inner system. Like I have done a ton of work over like several years on getting all this like noise and blah, blah, blah out of the way. So I'm very strongly in tune with my intuition. So like, it's kind of different for me to talk to different people who are at different stages for that. But like the people who are already spiritual, who get those hits and ignore them, I'm like, stop ignoring them. Like if someone's telling you to do this and it intuitively feels bad to you, and then like a month later, you feel really gross doing that thing, just don't do it from the beginning. Like I check into my intuition all the time to see if that feels good for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And and it's not just about what you're eating. Just about the food you're eating, about the decisions that you're making.
Yes.
So if you're in a relationship and you're having challenges in a relationship, or you're not having challenges, I don't know any relationship, whether it's not, that doesn't have a challenge, but honest with that person, honest with yourself.
Yep.
If you need to have that conversation with someone, don't sit there and nag, because it's only going to go at you. If the other person hasn't, then it's probably not an issue but if it's still an issue for you, then you need to talk about it.
Yes.
And it's like recognizing that.
Yep.
Until you get in with what's going on in your body, you can't take those relationships to the next level.
Mm-hmm. And you'll go and repeat those same negative patterns until you learn those lessons. Like, I was super guilty of that. I had to learn that the hard way. Like, there were things I didn't work on and resolve with my dad that presented in all the boyfriends. And then until that started affecting me physically, I wasn't going to speak my voice and have the space at all to begin speaking what I want and what I don't want and what I'm not going to allow in my life, and have those standards and like fucking clear all the junk in my throat chakra to be like, this is the standards of my life. These are the boundaries I've put around it so that I feel really good and safe and healthy. And then everything else is just like not in alignment, and I'm going to say no to it. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Exactly.
If you feel great, then it's not good for you.
Yeah. And we will repeat the pattern over and over and over and over again until we figure it out. Yeah. But it's still going to come up. It's just our reaction to it is going to be a little bit different because now you understand it and you recognize what's happening. Mm-hmm. So I like to use the analogy because this happens to me every week. Mm-hmm. I make posts on social media and it triggers people. Mm-hmm. And if it's triggering you, that is an opportunity for you to look within yourself and say, I need some healing here. Yeah. What is this triggering in me that is causing anger, sadness, fear, frustration, whatever it is to come up? That is an opportunity for you to check in with yourself and say, what is causing this? What is the pinpoint? What is behind what they're saying causing pain for me?
Yep. What's that old wound that's just like open here that someone like lightly brushed against? Now it's like bleeding and like you're triggered because it's like, there's something here already. If you were fully healed from that and complete, like, and if no one beside you is freaking out by that, and if you're just like seeming like you're overreacting, like there's something deeper that you've suppressed in your past or you don't want to look at right now that's like coming up, and it's your time to heal for it.
Absolutely. And there can be shame around it too, being like, oh, this is a trigger point. You hit a boiling point for me. I'm not going to talk about that. And then the guilt goes on and it festers and festers. And then you're not checking in because you're not recognizing what actually happened. And then you go home to your spouse or your partner and you just start an argument for absolutely no reason. And you can't figure out what happened. Mm-hmm. And then it just continues and continues and continues. And you can't figure out where the irritability is coming from.
Right.
From that one trigger. And so you're pissed off for a couple of days and you still don't recognize it.
Right.
And, you know, those wounds will always be there. It's just recognizing and understanding, okay, this is what happened. Where am I at with healing this wound?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you'll gain more tools over time to make it better. So you can be like, okay, I'm aware that this is a thing. Okay, let's do some self-care so that I can get myself picked up a little bit and then reach out to my support system. If I'm not like directly seeing something, and I'll be like, hey, Denise, or like, hey, other light worker friend, and like different people who are like always there for me. And I know that I can like reach out and get help from them and see what I'm not seeing. It's like very much supported instead of feeling like I'm alone or being like, oh, that email really pissed me off. Why did that email super piss me off? Like, and I don't get mad very much, but like when that comes up where I'm like, holy shit, I'm triggered, I like have to reach out to someone and be like, I'm really triggered. Or like, I just watched a whole season of something on TV. Like there's something I'm numbing out from. And these are like indicators that like there's something wrong right now that I need to like start getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. And if, you know, the people that are listening are afraid to reach out to someone to get vulnerable, write it in a journal.
Yes.
Write it in a journal, burn it if that's what you need to. Just get it out on paper because then it gets it out of your body and you're not hanging on to that negative emotion, because you will hang on to that somewhere in your body and it will get associated with some organ or muscle in your body, and it's going to embed itself. It's going to stay there and it's going to cause more inflammation along with, you know, not eating healthy. It's just going to exacerbate the problem.
Yeah. I love that. Yep. So definitely get out your piece of paper and write this down, guys. And I know that we could talk about the ultimate health and gut and all this stuff for forever, but how can people connect with you after the show so they can continue getting all this great resources from you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at The Dirty Gut Girl, or on Facebook, which will be Melissa Smith MN, and then on my website at melissasmithhealth.com.
Awesome. And do you want to put that in the links afterwards too, so they can just click on you? Super conveniently. Perfect. So thank you so much for joining us today. I loved our conversation. I'll definitely have to get you on like another time so we can talk more and more and more about all this awesome stuff, because it's so important and it's like foundational for like people to understand this and to be open to their next step. So I really love that you spent time today to talk to us about this, and I'm so excited to just learn even more from you and like see all the great things that you're doing in the world. So I highly recommend you guys follow her. She's really awesome. I love what she's doing. And just thank you for your time. And thank you guys for showing up to make the Love and Light show a weekly habit in your life. And I encourage you to continue doing that, to find the different pieces and parts that resonate with you to help you on your healing journey. And I'm sending you guys all so much love and light. Bye.